Oh, yeah. All righty. So welcome to the final Sunday school, adult Sunday school of the year. I know we did a little bit of a trivia Kahoot thing and survey last Sunday, which was really good. But we have one more lesson on pacifism, our Two Kingdoms series. And I am very excited about who we have here with us today. And so I wanted to do a little bit of an introduction and make it like this big deal. Because I know this guy, and I know he loves making himself into a big deal. So this guy that we have, this guest speaker, got his Bachelor's of Theological Studies from Canadian Mennonite University, Bachelor's of Arts at the University of Winnipeg on Sociology and Conflict Resolution, Master's of Arts, Anabaptist Mennonite Biblical Seminary, Peace Studies and Conflict Resolution. And then he went to Trinity College Dublin to do doctrinal work on international peace studies. And the biggest credential of them all is that he's my uncle. And so that should give him a lot of credence. And so, he's going to walk us through. This is going to be probably a little bit, he told me a little bit about this lesson, so I'm going to preface this so you guys are prepared. It might be a little bit different than the other lessons that we've done, so you might have to participate, maybe. It might not be as much lecture, but he's going to walk us through some key things. He's done a lot of work on conflict resolution, on peace, and the practicality of it, and I think he's going to lean into that, and that's pretty exciting. Because as Jordan and I have walked through this, right, Christians are supposed to be a people of peace, and how do we sometimes do that is a little bit tough to know. And so I think my Uncle Korey here is going to do a great job of walking us through that. And then at the end, he's hoping to kind of do it in 30 minutes, and then at the end, if you have questions either on what we've done this lesson, or if you have specific big theological questions that you would like to give him time to answer, you can answer or ask the question then. So, Uncle Korey, welcome.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. So, being the uncle is that's the highest title I have this morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being interested in Two Kingdoms and pacifism and just war and all these things that we have a little bit of an inkling about, but we may not have concrete ideas. One of the things that I want to do, and having watched your Sunday schools in advance, and knowing that it's only 30 minutes, I have to limit what I have to say. So we're going to just take a couple of nuggets. And if you can take away one or two things this morning, I'll be happy. Now, what you take away, I don't know. Maybe he was boring. But I'll leave that with you. So one of the things that we have, and I think Dustin has passed these around. So these are just sort of an idea of what's to come. You can write on it. These are for you to keep. But I want to talk a little bit about nonviolence, and this will be participatory, so I'm going to tell you that in advance. So at some point, you'll have to get up and do something, but it's very easy, and it's not scary. So hopefully you can be good sports. In a past lifetime, I used to teach conflict resolution at Minnow Simons College at University of Winnipeg. And most of what we would do would be role plays or exercises. And I thought that would be experiential learning. So we remember it maybe a little bit better once we do stuff. And then we make the connection. I remember the time when I did this, and then here's the teaching. So hopefully that's kind of what we do this morning. When we talk about nonviolence, it's a big term, and sometimes we think that it is an extra or an ideal. I wish we could do that. Or, there are always circumstances where. And I would like to challenge that idea. When I think of nonviolence, think of it as Jesus' third way of loving kindness to remove obstacles or barriers to bring in God's kingdom. It's a lot of different things. But think of it as a way of living, as opposed to a choice in a certain moment. And I think that gets a little bit clearer, that it's not an exception or an ideal, or it's a choice to be made. It's more of an outgrowth of what Jesus has taught us put into practice. So, that's a mouthful. One of the things when we try to figure that out is a lot of it has to do with our interpretation. And when we read the Bible, a lot of what we understand comes from different interpretations. So I want to just work with a couple of passages to maybe highlight how we can understand them, and how they've perhaps been understood in the past, and how they can be understood this morning. And then you can see if there's anything there that might pique your interest or change your mind. So I'm not going to do a large setup, but when we do biblical interpretation, we do a lot of context. We have to figure out, okay, there's lots of questions to be asked before we even find out, okay, I think I've arrived at what this means. The three examples that we have on the sheet of paper here from Matthew 5, the turning the other cheek, the hand over your coat as well, and go with them 2 miles. Within the Bible, that's coming right after the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount is really special for Mennonites, Anabaptists, Peace Church tradition people, because it's almost like a gospel in a gospel. But I'd prefer to think of it as a blueprint for life. Jesus is telling us how to live, and he doesn't expect us to spiritualize it. He's telling us, do these things, and then we're putting love into practice. And these three ideas are coming afterwards. When Jesus is talking about it, we have to think about the context too. So it's under Roman occupation. The Judeans is it used to be Judah, the southern kingdom. Now it's Judea, which is a province of the Roman Empire. Caesar's in charge, and there are soldiers all over. And as Jesus is ministering, he's doing his 3-year ministry, the Israelites, the people of Judea, they are looking for a new king. And the king that they're thinking of are the kings of the past. We already talked about Saul this morning. And the kings are thinking about kings to take over, reclaim the land. And it would be like we had it before. Jesus doesn't do that. His kingdom is different. What are we going to do with this? Let's just start with the example. So I need people to stand up. I need everybody to stand up. And in 2 lines where I'm facing somebody else in front of me. So just a little bit. It's not bad or scary. Don't worry about it. But this is your wake-up call. So just somebody in front. Yeah, we're going to act it out. You got it. So if everybody has room, it doesn't have to be a straight line, or the line can curve over. But have a partner is what I'm saying. And I'm going to wait till everybody has somebody in front of them. This will be the only big participation thing, so don't worry about it. Once you do this, you can sit down again, and you'll be okay. So turning the other cheek. Don't be scared. Typically that means be weak. You're passive. You're not doing anything. Give up. It's not what Jesus is teaching about. Here, there's always a domination system which is occurring. There's master, slave, Greek, Gentile, man, woman, adult, child. There's always this relationship where one is dominant or over the other. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but this is the world that they're living in. And Jesus comes in and he's doing these teachings to show a different way of bringing in the kingdom. But when you're oppressed, what can you actually do? Right? There's soldiers all around you. You're not in charge of your own country. You have to be careful. You often get humiliated. You're put down. You're not a full person. What does Jesus do? So he teaches about this, and I'm talking too much. So, when there is, Jesus says to turn the other cheek. This is strength. This is not weakness. So, everybody on my side here, make a fist, and don't hit your partner. But this is what, in fights, in war, you're facing equals. And the fist would do it by hitting the right cheek here, you know? Boom. So you can pretend to do it if you want. Okay? In these different relationships, there's one always over another, right? One is dominant, one is submissive. So if you're dominant, and we're going to be the dominant side because I like this side better, we wouldn't be treating the other person as an equal with a fist. Okay? Then you're not my slave, you're my equal. We're partners, right? So typically what would happen, and you would only use your right hand, is you would backhand. Okay? So you can play that out. You take the right hand, only the right hand, and you'd backhand. Okay? So you are subordinate to me. I am humiliating you. You are weaker than me. You are less than. Now, if we were to turn the other cheek, can I still backhand him? He's turning it the other way. I can't backhand him because his nose is in the way. Dustin's nose is in the way. He's giving me the other cheek. I can't do it like I did it the first time. Can we all try that? So turn over. You can't do it. It doesn't work that way, right? You can all sit down. That's okay. I didn't hear it, but I'm going to let that go. Within this context, Jesus is trying to show you a third way of living in a world that you are not in charge of. And you, as the lower status person, or the Jews in a Roman-occupied territory, you can't fight back to them. You would lose. If you chose violence, it would be over pretty quickly. But you are saying, by turning the other cheek, I am your equal. You can't humiliate me anymore. You can do it once, but it's stopped. If it's a slave to a master, you'll have to do something else next time because I've already done this to you, right? I've turned my cheek. I am a strong person. I am not going to be walked over. That's a different interpretation than perhaps others have maybe thought. Were you thinking about, is this new to anybody? Just put up your hand so I have a sense of, okay, I'm on the right track. Wonderful. Turning the other cheek has the connotation, or it can be interpreted as being passive or weak or giving up. This is not what Jesus is doing. He's being strong in a place where he's not in charge. Okay? We have until 45? Until 12. Okay, yeah. Handing over your coat as well. Okay, another instruction of Jesus, right? So, sometimes we have to understand what's also going on within that context. We don't live 2,000 years ago anymore. So I will need a helper when my helper is available here. Now, living in Jesus' time, there was, I could sit down for a second. Living in Jesus' time, under Roman occupation, the Roman occupiers would want tribute, would want taxes. And then people would have to pay them. Where did the money come from? Well, rich people would pay the Romans. Poor people would pay the other people. There would be a process of taxation. If I needed money and somebody was richer, I would take a loan from you, right? And there's a structural sort of trickle-down approach here of what's happening, where how would I put it? Where you're always indebted to somebody else. There's somebody on top. It's almost like this structure, this system, right? You pay up. Well, what happens when you've paid all you can and there's nothing more to pay? I have nothing to give you. I can turn out my pockets. You can't take much more than what I've already given you. And it goes to the extreme. Here in the Bible, in the passage there, about giving also the cloak, we see how ridiculous this actually comes. And we're going to act it out. So, I'm going to have a helper. And I need somebody to want to take my money that I'm indebted to, and they can be really mean to me. So if anybody fits that description, they can come up to the front. Or not that mean, but you want your money. Yep. Perfect. No. We won't pigeonhole you in that. So usually where you owe somebody, usually you work that out ahead of time. You don't have to go to court. Going to court is the extreme. It was the exception. So actually going to court to take my money or pay you back, it's a rare thing, okay? So I need a judge. Yeah, just stand there and be a judge. Okay?
He owes me money, a lot of money, and he won't pay.
Perfect. I can't pay. I have nothing else left. I've given you everything that I have. It's
I've heard this
not.
before.
You've taken everything I have.
I've taken everything you have.
Everything I have. You know what?
Like what's in your wallet?
I don't have a. Hold this for a second. So the only thing I have left is my coat, and here it is.
Wow, thank you.
Just
Thank
hold on
you
for a
very
second.
much.
Your roll is kind of done for a second. So as a debtor in Jewish society, you could always take the outer cloak. So you had two garments that you would wear. One was your underwear, and undercloak, overcloak, outside, inside. And if I had a debt to somebody else and I couldn't repay it, they could always take my cloak. But at the end of the day, they'd have to return it to me so that I'd have something warm to sleep in. So there was always this kindness, or there's recognition that I'm fully human, that you care for me in some way. Now, like with this, he's taken my cloak. I've given everything I can. Ask for more.
This is really
You want more? I have nothing else to give. I have nothing else to give. So here you go. The only thing I have is this. So hold on. I've got shoes. These are my sandals. You got my sandals. These are for you. Away you go. No. You go. Here you go. This is everything I have. This is everything I have. And now, these are swim trunks, by the way. We're
came prepared.
I came prepared. He has everything. When I was stripping off, you can put that down. Thank you. Yep, just put it there. Thank you. What Jesus was doing with that story, and it's very, very short, was demonstrating widely the unjust system of debt and debtor. In courts, you could have up to 25 to 250% interest on debt. There's no way you can pay it back. There's nothing left to give. The idea with the poor person stripping down and giving everything so that he or she would be naked would shame everybody here that's watching. In the Old Testament, nakedness was shameful. You did not want to see it, right? By doing this in a court of law, in front of high-status people, in front of the person that is asking for money that they know they can never get, it shames everybody there. It uncovers an unjust system. Why is he so indebted that he could never give anything back, that he has nothing? Jesus is highlighting this to show it that this is not how life should be. This is not peace. This is not equality. So he's putting it out so that everybody can see that. This is ridiculous. It doesn't work. This is not shalom. This is not peace where everybody has enough. He gave everything. I think so. I think we're on to the next one. Yeah. Go another mile. Go the second mile. If I were to just ask questions, when you hear, I'm going the extra mile, what comes to mind? What is more than what we asked for? That's not what the Bible says. So we're going to act it out again, because I'm hoping that you remember some of these things and take them to heart. So in Judea, which is occupied by the Romans, there was Roman soldiers everywhere, and as they would march from town to town, usually with a centurion and soldiers, so a group of about 100, all marching through. And what they could do was they would wear backpacks, my wonderful helper here, of 70 to 90 pounds. So all the soldiers, thank you, it's only just a blanket inside, but 70 to 90 pounds, if we can imagine that soldiers would wear on these long hikes from town to town. Now, because they were in charge, they could ask just a regular person on the street to take it for them. And they could carry it for 1 mile. Thank you. So I would carry this for 1 mile. That was acceptable under Roman law. So I would carry this. Think of Simon of Cyrene carrying the cross, Jesus' cross, picked up off the street. And here, you have to do my work for me. But there was a limit for 1 mile. So then he could carry it around for 1 mile. But after 1 mile, the Roman soldier would what? They would need to take the bag away from them. No, I'm good. I'm going to carry it. I'm good. I can carry it 2 miles. I'm okay. I'm fine. You know, what are you going to say?
I need my pack back.
No, I'm good. I'm okay. Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
I need my pack
No, I'm fine. I'm good. That's actually good exercise for me.
Give me my pack back.
No, we're good. I'm okay. I'm almost there.
I want my pack back.
Okay, thank you. Jesus turns the tables. And what was an expected, normal day for the Roman soldier all of a sudden puts them off balance. This hasn't happened to me before. This is strange. I don't know what to do. Now, in a world where the Judeans don't have any power, this was them asserting that. It is the third way of Jesus between passivity, doing nothing and accepting an unjust situation, or by choosing violence, which wouldn't work because one is so much greater than the other. But could you show it? Could you exaggerate it to a point to highlight these unjust systems that are going on in order to change it? If we go back to one with the naked man in the courtroom, it would be so absurd, it would be so silly and ridiculous, and all the people would be so ashamed because there was a shaming culture. This is very, very different from North America. It would just, you think of it as this naked man having a crowd of people behind them highlighting this unjust situation that should never be in the first place. And thinking of it as almost like this naked man leading a parade, showing everybody that this shouldn't be. This is not God's intended purpose. This is not shalom. This is not peace. This is not where everybody has what they need to have a good life. Have you heard or interpreted these passages like that before? No, all new. I guess if I were to sum it up, it requires knowing a lot about multiple things. And I know I have 5 minutes before questions, but we need to know a bunch of things in advance to understand the passages so that hopefully as close to as accurate as possible. We have to know that the political situation where Rome is in charge of the southern kingdom, of the Judeans. We have to know that the Jewish people are expecting a military leader in the line of kingships. And they think that Jesus is going to be it, but he's not doing it. He's creating a different kingdom all along the way. The disciples aren't getting it just quite yet, but they're catching on. This is coming after the Sermon on the Mount. This is Jesus showing them how to live so that they can, again, take away the barriers of oppression. All those things they need to know in advance. We also need to know that the creation story in Genesis, the world was created in peace. Peace in the Old Testament is from shalom. Shalom is right relationships. I am right with God. I am right with my partner. I am right with my family. And outward, over and over and over again. That was what God intended for the world. We don't live in that world, right? We have this trajectory of a fallen world in the Old Testament, and you have the people of God trying to do good things and trying to live righteously, but they fail, and they start again, and then Jesus uses them again, and God uses them again, pardon me. And here's a second chance and a third chance, and then all this culminating to God sending Jesus to do something new, to show us a different way. And what these stories do, in a small, small part, is it is possible to live in such a way to highlight injustices and then show them to other people so that at some point that they get taken away in small or large ways. I'm almost bang on for time. So I'm going to end it there. I hope that there was something different or something that you can take away from this morning. whether it's a new understanding of those passages. If you wanted to see my legs, then you've seen that. I don't think anybody came for that. But I wanted to at least highlight that sometimes what we read or how we've understood a passage may not be, well, it could be understood in a different way. Let's leave it at that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating.
Do we have any questions for Korey?
Uh-oh.
When you were slapping the face, why couldn't you use the left hand?
Good question. Why the left hand? Why couldn't you use the left hand? Biblical times, left hand was used for cleaning. Okay, for cleaning washroom. So you wouldn't touch food, you wouldn't touch people with your left hand. It was always the right hand. So that's why the demonstration of turning the other cheek works. You wouldn't use the left hand whatsoever. Yeah.
In the places where you've learned this stuff, I assume there's a community of people that are like-minded. Do you see these ideals being lived out more than you do in the broad culture?
That's a big question. I think it takes eyes to see. I think it takes time to interpret. I think it takes Bible study. It doesn't. You have one person teaching you these things, but I've had many, many teachers, and at least within the Anabaptist Mennonite tradition, you always interpret Scripture as a group, so that nobody takes you out into left field. So it kind of, you have a consensus of what the group as a whole thinks what the text does. You'd asked me if people live this out. Yeah, in small ways all over the world. There are lots of examples. There are stories, there are books, there's videos, some of them on the desk there. But even in a personal way, I can choose how I respond in all these different interactions. One quick example, I've played high-level soccer for all my life. And you can imagine there might be some tough feelings, or I think something and they think the other, or there's confrontation. So within those confrontations, you can react and not think, or you can respond. But you have to remember who you are and who you belong to in those interactions. Now, sometimes everybody makes mistakes and they're not perfect, 100%. But, oh yeah, I could be wrong. I could have kicked him first. I can also walk away and cool off. But in deciding and interpreting things, there's communities all around the world who try to live out as much as possible. Does that answer your question? Or no? Something else? Okay. Yeah.
So one thing that comes to mind as we're walking through these examples, I get this niggling in my heart that it feels to me like, oh, I'm being oppressed. So, I'm going to show them, right? I'm going to show them their hypocrisy, their sin, right? And I'm going to do this to kind of get back at them, right? And so how do you navigate that in this type of responding to evil or hardship or that type of thing, right? Where it's like, okay, I can't physically do anything, but I'm going to get back at them anyways, but I'm going to do it in this kind of...
Stick it to them.
Yeah, kind of stick it to it. And so, like, do you know what I'm kind of driving at?
Yeah. I think I do. I can't see your heart. Do people do that? Yeah, they do. I'm not naive about that. I think we have to, going to church trains our heart, reading scripture trains our heart, praying trains our heart. That, what does Jesus call us to do? Love our enemies, especially. So I am, if I were to enact some of these things, and making them a highlight, making them ridiculous to see that this shouldn't be that way. This is not the world God created, or it's not looking like it. I need to do it with a heart that is not trying to put them down, but can you see what I see? We're brothers. We shouldn't be doing this. But yeah, sometimes we get it wrong. But as much as possible, we want to love them to change, really. And the time frame is different. So some people might get it right away, or it might take years later, and it's like, oh yeah, I screwed up, I was wrong. Oh boy, I wish I could fix that. Yeah.
So you're saying with the highlight, the purpose for revealing the injustice is to create more shalom, and you are wanting, like, this is the pursuit of loving your enemies by revealing this, even though it may almost increase the shame that they are experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah. The shame within that court setting won't last forever. You've seen something that you shouldn't see, almost a naked person. But if I talk to you normally, or if I don't have the opportunity to talk to you normally, it's almost like I need to change it from an everyday conversation to something that'll catch their attention. And that would be one way of doing it. Not to shame them personally. That's not the goal, no. But to change the system, that how on earth can somebody charge me up to 250% interest on something that I can never pay back, and I have nothing to do it. In the Old Testament, I mean, you have this, land was passed down generation to generation. Land was wealth. And when you had debts that you couldn't pay, you could sell your land to somebody. But in the 50th year, in the year of Jubilee, that land would be returned. They would have the benefit of earning money on the land, of whatever produce or grain that would pay it back. But after 50 years, the land debt would go back to the original family. To have that, a society that is more equal. But you're not trying to shame people personally, but to shame the system. This is not the way it should have been.
I'm just reminded of what I often do with couples, and when there's a lot of reaction, and you want to get into mean and angry words and just fight back or shut down or withdraw or whatever we would do for self-defense. It takes a lot of creativity and courage to go another route, and maybe to find a very creative way to say, this is really important to me. Like, this actually means an awful lot to me, and I need to stand up for this. But I'm going to try and find a creative way to get this across in a way that I'm not attacking the other person or shutting down. And it actually takes a very soft heart, a soft and willing heart to do that.
It's getting out of that tit for tat, hit for hit, bad comment for bad comment system. There has to be something that changes. And whether that's political theater, like showing off in the courtroom and just saying, oh, yeah, of course that's ridiculous. There's no way that he could pay. Or simply trying something new. Violence can be quick and easy. I have access to that all the time. But a creative response or imagining something new or imagining a new way to be does take time. And sometimes we get caught up in that quickly, that you said something bad to me, I said something bad to you. And you just have to stop at some point, whether one of them chooses or a third party comes in and say, well, let's just stop for a second. When you said that, what did you actually mean? Or other things. But Jesus calls us to a different way, where we're not giving violence back for violence. It stops the system. It stops a poor relationship. We have to figure out something different. There's different ways to say it, but that's what it boils down to. And I do think this is not the exception. This is not idealism. That's not, in any and all situations, there is more imagination. And maybe if I'm not smart enough to imagine that new life or a new relationship, maybe somebody else is. Maybe it's my partner. Maybe it's my family. Maybe it's a stranger that said, Korey, hold on. Maybe we need to think about it in a different way.
My brain is going pretty fast. I'm trying to follow all this. And there's two stories that are in my mind. One is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And I have followed it very closely from the viewpoint of one person that knows pretty much more than I do, very much more. And just this morning I listened to him. The people were saying, why doesn't Ukraine just hit back? They show that they have the power now. They have the means to do it. But they say that if they would just hit like in anger, they would be subdued very quickly by Russia. But they try to show Russia that they can destroy oil refineries and stuff like that. They try not to hit civilians, which Russia does civilians all the time. And so, yeah, that's one story that is. And the other story is a way more personal, so I don't know if I should mention it.
So we have these teachings, and we have interpretations, and it's always about the application. So what do we do with them? Does it make sense? Within my family, it might. On the soccer field, it might. But when it's country versus country, is that different? No, it's tough knowing what to pray for in that situation. Obviously, for violence to end, for families to be reunited, for people to heal, for food for enough, for shelter, for clothing, for families to be reunited, all those things. It's a long list already of what we can pray for. In any type of in war, war is fallen. It shouldn't happen, and it does, and people get hurt. I'm not there. It's different groups fighting for different things. I think if you came from it at a political viewpoint, it would be less damage, less hurt as much as possible. That would be, if having chosen war, having chosen violence, having chosen military action, using that as a frame of reference, then that's having the less people hurt. But those choices are out of our hands. There are, in those situations, what I would say, apart from all the things that we could pray for, Christians and nonviolent Christians can be called to different actions of peace within that structure. We didn't choose that war, but there are things that we can help lessen the impacts of it. Can we help people get well again? Doctors, nurses, medical aid. It doesn't matter, good or bad, right or wrong. People are people. We can help in that way. We can provide food, another Christian option. We can find people to negotiate and set up places where they can talk in peace. There are, in a large structure like that, medical aid, food, transport, prayer, safe places to be, safe transport away. All those could be Christian roles to help us make the outcomes of war less. We're not in charge of it, but we can help in different ways that don't make things worse. Is that? Yeah. But in any type of war situation, I know we're time to go, but if it takes years and years to build up to a war, it's always going to take years and years to come down from it. So there are no quick fixes. You can stop, but there's still lots of after effects. We have that within our own personal family histories.
Thank you so much, Uncle Korey, for taking the time. Hope you guys enjoyed that and learned a little bit. And I would love to just pray for you really quickly, and then we'll wrap it up. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you that you have provided a community of people who are passionate about bringing peace and reconciliation to situations where violence seems so easy to reach out and grab to. I just pray your hand of blessing over Korey. Thank you for allowing him to be one of those people and for allowing him to come, take time out of his day and his busy weekend to come speak to us. I ask that you just instill in each one of us, in our hearts, the position of peace, of not taking revenge in and of ourselves on our neighbor, on our quote-unquote enemy, but loving the way that you loved by laying our life down for each other. We love you. Amen. And you have some books here. You mentioned that. If anybody's interested in perusing them and looking and want to dig deeper into what you've said, right? You have more there. Are there any that you would recommend, top list?
It depends what you're interested in. So there is biblical interpretation if you really want to get to know what Hebrew words mean and what the differences and definitions. There's theology, there's practical stuff. So if you're interested in any of it, I can give you some ideas.
And you might be around for a few more minutes to answer any.
I'm happy to stay around for questions, or if you say, Korey, what's one book on this, I'm happy to point one out.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.